Hello and welcome. Today's video is, the subject is going to be boomerang decks. And at least that's what I'm starting with. I don't know what else I'll end up talking about. I'll only know after the video is done recording. But from this moment onward, it's boomerang decks, the subject that I want to discuss today. Okay. As some of you know, and those of you who've been watching me for a while, I have rehomed a lot of decks. Now, you don't know because you didn't physically see how many decks I rehomed, but when I talk about the binge buying of 2018, when I talk about the retail therapy of 2020, boxes of decks. And they were a mix of Oracle and Tarot, mainly. I want to say the ones I rehomed were mainly, if I looked at a percentage, yeah, were mainly tarot, considering that I acquire less tarot than I do Oracle decks. But percentage-wise of what's left of my tarot is like, I think I have 30% left of the tarot decks that I had, and Oracle decks, oh my god, that's like I had tons of Oracle decks that I just moved along. Anyway, long story short, I rehomed a lot of decks. And in the process of rehoming decks, there are some decks that have returned to me time and time again. I've already done one video on boomerang decks, and one of them was the Ghosts and Spirits Tarot by Lisa Cavan. No. Oh my god, people. Look, see, they're gone. I don't remember them anymore. But it's Lisa Hunt, not Lucy Cavendish. I merged them together. Already that's very telling about what the situation was with all the decks. Okay. So Lisa Hunt's Ghosts and Spirits Tarot was one that's come back to me time and time again. It's not readable for me as a tarot. I wish the art would really benefit from being blown up and like borderless in order to see the detail, because her art is very fine detailed art. But that one's not in this video because I've rehomed it and it hasn't come back yet. Today I'm going to talk about some that 4 decks that have been rehomed. One has been rehomed many times. I want to say at least 4. Like, this is not the exact This is not the exact deck but it is the exact one that was rehomed. That was the last one to be rehomed twice. So let's go. All right. So I'm going to start with one. Well, obviously I got to start with something, right? Okay. The first one I'm going to start with, I sold it. I sold it right here on my channel. I sold it, and the person I sold it to then put it up for sale. They said that they just didn't connect with the deck. They said that they just, they wanted it because they had it in the past, and it's the original Mythic Tarot from 1986. And this is my original copy. This is one that I purchased, and I want to say I purchased it in 1990. This is my original. I purchased it brand new, blah blah blah, from Metaphysical Shop. I sold it because I wasn't using it. It had been, look at its bowed, people, just from, look, it's pristine, it's clean, and it's bowed just from life on my shelf. I sold it. I then missed the guidebook. I love the guidebook. This was the guidebook to this deck was the first tarot guidebook that I read that actually helped the meanings, the archetypes gel in my mind, because the archetypes are described in the context of Greek myth. And I love the guidebook because my Kumara Luna, Teresa, she used to read to me from the guidebook. And till this day, when I read the guidebook to this deck, I hear it in her voice. Like in my head, that's the voice that I read it in. Why, pray tell, you ask? I sold it. Well, I wasn't using it, and like I was saying, it was sitting sadly. Look at this, bowing, just from not being used. Might as well show you the cards. So I sold it. I thought someone would benefit from it. Someone would use it, would love it. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. Well, the person I sold it to, I think she said the deck hated her. And I'm going to get to more of that because that's an interesting topic. When you feel like a tarot deck hates you. I've had that experience. My first ever Rider-Waite, I felt it hated me, and I had moved it on. So, yeah. So she put it up for sale, and I thought, you know what? I know someone that I think would like this, so I'm going to buy it back. So I bought it back. When I bought it back, I can't rave enough. It came in this beautiful custom-made sweater for it. It's perfect. And the person I purchased it for suddenly didn't want it anymore. So I kept it. I kept it, and when I found out the person I purchased it for didn't want it, I shuffled it and I drew some cards. I put them out, and the love affair was sparked all over again. The nostalgia of the person that introduced me to the deck, the love, the nostalgia, the memories, all that stuff, and the art is just, I love it. I love the original art. I don't know what the story is about the new Mythic Tarot. I don't know why they got Caselli to do the art for the new Mythic Tarot, and why. I don't know anything. All I know is that the original art is beautiful. I do have a 2003, because before I bought this one back, before this one went up for sale again, I purchased the 2003 edition of this deck, and that's the one with the blue backs with the Greek key that goes around it. It's a thicker cardstock, and it's the same art style. That one I'm going to rehome. I'm gonna look, but this one is staying. So that's Boomerang Deck number 1. So this one, I had it, I sold it, I bought it back for someone else. That person didn't want it. I kept it, and it's staying because obviously we have some unfinished business. Or you know what? Just because I don't use something every day doesn't mean it needs to be rehomed. All right, the next one. I did an exchange. The next two, I did an exchange with a lady in my city. She's wonderful, and what I did was I was looking to rehome a box of decks recently, and I honestly am just looking for someone to adopt when I'm looking to rehome. But we did an exchange instead. She had a box of decks that she wanted to rehome. And I didn't look in the box when I went to her home. We did the exchange, put it in my trunk. I'm driving home. I didn't even look in the box. I was ready to just go drop it off for donation. But something told me, oh no, there's something in that box for you. You need to look in the box. So I brought it home. And the first deck I found was this one. I've mentioned this deck before on my channel. I gifted a copy of this deck to my youngest daughter. This is one of the early Doreen Virtue decks. I still have some Doreen Virtue decks, but I don't have all the ones I had before. I've rehomed quite a few of those. But I've kept the ones that, this one came back. And you know what? It is one that I missed when I rehomed, and I couldn't remember, when I had rehomed it, which box it had gone into, what its fate what had been. But I was really happy that it came back. So this is a Boomerang deck that I'll be hanging on to, because it's on the surface it's very it's childlike, which is different from childish. It's not childish, it's childlike. It has a certain innocence, a certain naivete, a certain childlike wonder. It's a kind deck. It gives some very down to earth advice, like drink more water, love from your parents. Yeah. So I'm keeping it because I'm happy it's back. That's how you know. When a boomerang comes back and you're happy it's back, that means you gotta keep it. The next one. This is the deck that started, this is the deck that sparked my aversion to Lenormand. I hate Lenormand cards in general. I hate the system. I hate the card meanings, which is all very ironic because that's how I read playing cards. But my aversion to Lenormand is that the images are straightforward. The messages are straightforward, literal. And if you are watching me and you are reading Lenormand and you think you're reading Lenormand divination cards for personal development, no, come on. These are fortune telling cards. Look, Titania Hardy called them fortune cards. The history of Lenormand cards are for fortune telling. So no, you're not going to tell me that a Lenormand reading, a Grand Tableau, is giving you life advice and personal development advice, because no. I'm sorry, I don't abide by that. Je refuse. C'est pas vrai. All right. Titania fortune cards. I got these when they were first released. I think it was in the early 2000s. Around the time that Titania Hardy was putting out books, right? I still have 2 of her books, which I hang on to because even though I cleaned out my library, they are quintessentially 1990s, and the photography in her books are it's just incredible. Anyway, so I got this around the same time, early 2000s, and I read with them for quite some time. My original copy from the early 2000s, I sold. I sold it in 2018. And here's the story. Well, here's the Boomerang story. Excuse me, I always have to sneeze on them. Okay, I'm good. All right, let's continue. I got these in the early 2000s. I was reading with them all the time. In 2018, something happened in the 2000s when I was using this card. Things were going on in my life where the readings were constantly negative. It's not that the cards were negative. It's the situation I was living was hard, was harsh, was negative. There was a lot of duplicitous people involved. There was a lot of behind the scenes machinations involved. And this Lenormand, sorry, it's upside down. Lenormand cards are number 1 for picking that shit up. That's what you turn to Lenormand cards for. People's motivations. What's really going on? What are people saying or doing behind your back? That is what those cards are designed for. I digress. So my original set, I donated to charity. And a little while later, I was in a secondhand bookstore. I can't remember if it was a charity shop or secondhand bookstore. They were there. And I thought, oh my gosh, I think those are mine. So I bought them. I bought my own cards back. All right. Brought them home. Couldn't read them. I couldn't get past that they creeped me out because, well, they were accurate and there was creepy shit going on at the time when I had them. The cards, the images had become tattooed on my brain as just like a fucking scary movie. Excuse my language. Did you see my mug? Look at this. It's a crocodile eating sausage. Okay. Let me continue. So I held on to my Titania my Titania's fortune cards, and in 2018 I had the opportunity to sell them. Basically, I couldn't give them away. Nobody wanted them, and then someone wanted to buy them, so I sold them. As soon as I sold them, honest to God, it must have been like not more than 2 weeks. I'm doing my usual recon at Value Village, Canadian Savers, and in an area of the store where I normally look for things that are like, you know, candle holders, brand new candles, that kind of stuff that I use for my altar. These were just sitting on the shelf with a $4 sticker on them. I didn't even count the cards to make sure they were all there. I knew they were there for me, so I repurchased them. Take them home. And this was in 2018. I take them home. I try to read with them. I just can't. I get that sick feeling in my stomach again when I look at the cards. They go in probably the first ever box of decks to be rehomed from the binge of 2018. All right, these are the first. These were probably in the first box. Fast forward 2 years, and they're back. I'm going to show you what they look like. These are currently in print. The box, I think, is pink. I edged. Now, as I'm saying this, I don't know if I've recorded a video, like if one of my latest videos have this deck featured or not. I apologize if so, because I had a couple of videos that I recorded that the file was corrupt and I couldn't play or upload them. So I'm not quite sure what I talked about and what I didn't. So if I've already talked about these, I apologize, but it's part of the whole boomerang thing. So they came back, and what I did was I gave them a little TLC. I edged them green to kind of, you know, go with the green that's in the backs and some of the green cards. This is what they look like. So they're no words. They're just your Lenormand symbols. They don't bother me anymore. That's the interesting thing. I'm actually happy to have them back. Like I said, I gave the cards some TLC. I edged them. I repaired the box. Did a little cosmetic repair of the box, the tuck box for the cards, and the actual box that the book is attached to. I'm hoping my angel cards, I can't remember what they're called, by Angela McGurr, but it's the same kind of packaging. I hope those come back, because I had the same kind of aversion to them. Because so yeah, so as you see, those of you who are versed in Lenormand, they're all Lenormand. It's basically a Lenormand, quite stylized. And have I read with them yet? No. But I was okay looking through the cards, and they sit on my shelf with my 2 Titania Hardy, not decks, Titania Hardy books. And I'll be hanging on to them. I won't rehome them again. They've worked so hard to come back. It's like, I think this is the 4th time they come back into my life, so they stay. The next deck, and the last one I'm going to talk about, is one that I want to say in 2018, it was on my wish list. It was like my unicorn deck at the time. I think I had just missed it. It had gone out of print. I didn't know that it was available. It was still in print in French. Otherwise, I would have gotten it in French because I'm fluent. A wonderful viewer reached out to me, offered to sell me hers. It arrived shrink wrapped, so it was like brand new. And she didn't charge me anything outrageous. She charged me something fair for something that was out of print. Well, if I didn't think it was fair, I wouldn't have paid for it, right? And it's the Victorian Fairy Tarot. Yes, people, I rehomed it. I rehomed it because as much as I loved it, I use the app on my phone, like the widget is on my phone, and I use it for months and months and months at a time as my card of the day on my cell phone. But I never used the deck. And I made a beautiful bag for it. I had rehomed this to someone who wanted it. And this lady contacted me shortly thereafter and dropped it off at my house in my mailbox with a note. And the note read, "I'm sorry, but this deck hates me and they're mad at you. Good luck." Fairies, people. Fairies. What can I say? So that note made me laugh. And I decided that, you know what, I'm just going to hang on to them. It doesn't matter that I don't use them all the time. I do love them. I love the backs. Of course, I love them. It's the widget on my phone most of the year for my card, my card of the day that pops up on my cell phone. It's sometimes, some of these cards are a little busy to read. But I'm going to hang on to it. As a matter of fact, I think of all the decks I rehomed, there's only one fairy deck that I ended up rehoming, and I'm okay with it. Like, I don't feel like I need it back. Like, it's our time together is done. And I think it's just because also I'm finding out more and more what I enjoy in terms of tarot decks, and it's Tarot of the She. Yes, shocking, but Tarot of the She has been rehomed, both my modified copy, and they were both modified, but both my completely borderless with the multicolored edging, and the one where I just removed the side borders and edged in black. They have both been rehomed, and I'm feeling okay with it. What surprised me was when again, I think I mentioned in a previous video, I'm learning about what I like, and I do enjoy tarot and oracle decks that are fairy themed, and I'm I think I'm a little surprised that I kept Hidden Realm, because they look very human to me. They don't look very fairy. And the guidebook doesn't really do it for me. But when it comes to reading emotions, when it comes to doing a reading to figure out my emotions, like what's going on with me, what is my problem right now that I don't like, when I'm not understanding myself. And I think I mentioned this in previous videos. Sometimes I don't understand myself, and decks like Hidden Realm help me understand myself through tarot. So that's it for my Boomerang decks. In the comments below, do you have Boomerang decks? Sometimes it's kind of weird. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I have another Boomerang deck, and it's the Mother Piece. I had the Mother Piece. I rehomed the Mother Piece. Then I had the Mother Piece again, and I rehomed it just recently. And then my bestie asked me if I wanted Mother Piece, and I thought, yeah, I do miss it. And it's a vintage copy, just like my original one, and then the other original one, and yeah. So I don't have it yet, but Mother Piece is coming home. All right. In the comments below, do you have a Boomerang deck or decks? Would you care to share in the comments? Do you have a video where you talk about your Boomerang decks? Can you share the link in the comments below so I can come watch? That's it, and I'll talk to you soon. Wherever you are, have a beautiful day.